I'll probably be down in the studio when you get back. If the red light's on outside, press the button, but don't come in till it's green. I probably won't be doing anything too important, but it helps with stress, and I've got way too much of that at the moment." They finished for what passed as breakfast, and Nightingale headed down to the garage. Garage was nowhere near an adequate description of the climate-controlled, aircraft hangar-sized building where the car collection was stored. There were at least 15 in there, ranging from a Corvette to an SUV, via Porsches and Ferraris, and, to Nightingale's surprise and delight, an MGB convertible in British racing green. One that predated the USA's crazy old safety laws, so hadn't been disfigured with the hideous large rubber bumpers at the front and back. The car was spotless, its bodywork and wire wheels gleaming. And Nightingale felt a wave of nostalgia for the one he'd been forced to leave behind in London, though his own had never looked anywhere as good as this. He opened the door and eased himself into the driver's seat, pulled out the choke, checked the gear stick was in neutral, pressed down the clutch and turned the key. The motor fired up straight away, another major difference from Nightingale's own model, and the room was filled with the sporty roar of the old-fashioned British exhaust. It certainly sounded powerful, even though Nightingale knew it was probably the slowest car in the place. He left the engine running while he went through the complicated ritual of folding down the convertible top and snapping the tonneau cover into place, then resumed his seat and headed slowly for the main door, which opened before he reached it, courtesy of the sensor behind the sun visor. He pulled out around the front of the house and down the drive to Gable Street, savouring the morning sun on his face and the breeze in his hair. This was driving the way it was meant to be, low down, feeling every bump of the road through the taut suspension, changing up and down through the gears with the smoothest possible clutch foot, the steering responsive to every twitch and the roar of the exhaust and tyres almost deafening in the open cabin. And then it was over, and he was parking outside the White Horse Cafe, turning off the motor and making his way inside. There were a couple of older women who might have been Margaret Shaw, but he deduced it was probably the ash-blonde woman in the green-rimmed glasses and striped sweater, probably because she was waving at him. He walked over and introduced himself. "Jack Nightingale. Mrs. Shaw? How did you recognize me?" She nodded and smiled. "I figured the coincidence of an English accent on the phone and an Old English car today was probably too much. And besides, you're the only person in here I don't know." "Small town, eh?" "It is, at that. I'll take another tea, please, Muriel. And for you, Mr. Nightingale?" Nightingale ordered straight coffee, and the waitress bustled off. "Shall we stay here and talk?" she said. "It's pretty quiet, and I'm sure you won't mind not smoking for a while. It plays havoc with my allergies." "That'll be fine," said Nightingale, with a slightly unconvincing smile. Pretty much everyone he met these days claimed to have allergies. Still, he was the one who wanted information, so it was her call. Muriel came back with the 2 cups, and Mrs. Shaw added the lemon to her tea and took a sip. "So," she said, "you're staying up at Peacehaven? They're a nice family, the Deadmans." "I'm up there for a few days. Not much to do, so I thought I'd try to find out something about the history of the place. I'm a bit of a history buff." "Indeed," she said, putting her head on one side and gazing at him carefully with her sharp blue eyes. He had the feeling that Margaret Shaw might not be an easy person to lie to. "Well, the Deadmans have a bit of a funny feeling about the place, so I thought I might ask around. And your name was suggested by 1 or 2 people." "Really?" Again the searching look. "Well," she said, "I'm not sure there's all that much to tell. Peacehaven's a brand-new building. Only goes back around 4 years or so. The old house has been a ruin for decades, and was completely demolished." "I know that," said Nightingale. but I'd still like to find out as much as possible about it.